Hey guys, Steve here who took my nice miniature wargaming, and welcome to another Ramble On. I had huge success the last one. I got a lot of support. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching and adding your comments. This one's not going to be as heavy as the last one. If you haven't watched it, check it out. Last one I talked about a few things. Start off with something light. Marines, our Primaris Marines replacing standard Marines. Got into the whole cheating scandal that's kind of been hitting our beautiful hobby over the last year or so. And of course, I talked about Anita Sarkeesian going to Gen Con. This one is going to be a lot lighter. Alright. Just some other things that I've noticed have been either in the back of my mind for a bit or just keep popping up. The first one I'm going to talk about is terrain. Now, I don't know about you guys, but it seems to me there's a massive lack of terrain on tabletop war games now. I don't know what it is. Fantasy's never been big on it. 40K was huge on, and I've just been seeing table after table. There's something at the London GT with tables with horrible terrain, unpainted. There was a lack of terrain. I've seen other pictures recently where a gentleman I follow on, or he's in a group with me on Facebook. I was at a table, and I think it was a 4x6, and it had 4 hills sort of stationed in a box, separated far enough, and 2 pieces of terrain in the extreme corners. And that was it. And it didn't even match. It was like a sand table with green hills. So, and it's something else I've been noticing in a lot of the battle reports I've seen on well, not all, but a number of them on YouTube here. There's just not enough terrain, and I don't think people understand just how important terrain is to the game. It's always been a factor, still is, even though it's sort of changed the way we use cover just by adding that +1 instead of giving you a completely different save. It's still really, really important, and certain armies either benefit or there's a detriment to them depending on how much or how little terrain there is. So it's always nice to strike sort of a balance. For one, when I've put tables in, I try and put down a good amount of terrain. I think the rulebook says it's like 1 per tile or a couple per tile, sort of spread out a bit. I prefer to build a bit more. I find terrain can be it's a fun way to add dimensions to your game as you're going up and down and through buildings. When I was working in Games Workshop, I loved building a table that sort of had a bit of everything. I would build a table that kind of told its own story. I'd have buildings that were close together, so that you get that building fighting. I'd always have a square or a little market or something that was a bit more open. A few little pieces of debris here and there, some ruined barricades that could kind of break up a little bit of that openness, but it was relatively open. Or even when I was building, say, something like an Imperial bunker or an Imperial base, I tried to make it look like an actual military base, but at the same time still provide lots of cover. And allow people to have some fun on these tables. I try not to put too much terrain, try to strike that balance, but I see a serious lack of terrain nowadays, and I don't know why that is. Maybe you guys can tell me. Why do you think there is this lack of terrain that we're seeing now? Why are these tables not getting done? Is it a lack of preparedness on organized events? People just not caring about terrain anymore? There was I believe it was 4th edition where terrain, the saves you could get from the cover save went up, and so obviously it had effect. People took a lot more flamers, heavy flamers, anything that ignored cover, they took that, so it actually changed the meta of the game. Again, it's changed with this edition. Instead of giving you a cover save, you get the +1 your armor save, which is still really, really good. It takes something a guardsman and gives them a 4+ armor save, or a space marine gets a 2+. It makes it very, very hard to remove some stuff from terrain, even with the minuses all over the place with bolter rifles or plasma cannons, what have you. It means that you guys are more survivable. So I don't know, guys. That's all I really want to say about that. You guys tell me down below, what do you guys think? Is it something that's a problem with you, with your gaming group? Is it something you've noticed, or am I completely out of my mind? And the other thing I want to talk about is sort of twofold. So if you remember, I think it was a few months ago, Games Workshop stated they're going to be releasing these new books for children 8 to 12 years old, these Warhammer Adventures. And when they announced this, the feedback they got was resoundingly either confusing or negative. People were saying, "No, why are you catering to kids? This is stupid." Or, "Why is Games Workshop, who's all about grim, dark, death, destruction, the end times, making children's books where everything's heroic and noble, and people are like, this doesn't make any sense. Well, it does make sense, actually, and a lot of companies have done this beforehand. So the first part of it is, I think some people either forget or they don't realize in the first place that Games Workshop is a business, right? They take your money for a reason. They're a publicly traded company, and they're in the business of making money. That's their business. How they make that money is by creating and selling all the awesome miniatures and the games and all that. That's how they make their money, but their business is making money. And companies love to make money. I don't think anybody's gone to business going, gee golly gosh, I hope I lose all my money today. No one does that. It's quite simple. That's what they want. They want to make money. And even though there's probably a lot of veterans, I won't say a lot, there'll be a small chunk of veterans who believe that Games Workshop is for them and that they single-handedly keep Games Workshop afloat with their sales. That's not true. Not at all. It took me a while to figure that out too. Not that I felt that way, but when I worked at Games Workshop, I first started there, we were talking about things we can do to improve our business there. And once I thought, well, why don't we, do something for our veterans? They're obviously, the guys who've been around forever. They have spent a ton of money. And my boss was like, no, we don't take care of the veterans like that. And first I was like, what? How can we disregard those people? Then I realized the veterans don't buy. They just don't buy the way they used to. Now, this is a generalized statement. I'm sure there's, and I'm talking on the average here, I'm sure there's lots of veteran players who still buy lots of stuff. But for where I was, from my experience, they didn't. They would come in and they'd buy the next army book. They'd buy the next rule book. They may buy a few new miniatures here and there, but they had their armies. And if you could take your army from, edition to edition to edition to edition with very little change, you're a veteran gamer. That's how I am with my Ultramarines. I played them in every edition since 2nd Ed. And they've changed a bit. I've got new models here when new stuff has come out. When I was building my army, I mean, heck, I still got to pay these guys. I still have my aggressors. That's my new purchase for them. But that's the thing. So how does this fit into the other thing? All right, so Games Workshop's here. They're making money. They can't count the veterans, so it's always about getting new blood in. And it's not a weird thing. Companies have been doing this for years and years and years. Going back, as far as I can remember, companies have done this in one way or another. When you want someone to get into something, and they may not be the age of what your standard product is. For instance, my best examples are Marvel Comics and DC. Obviously, if someone were to dive into an X-Men comic or an Avengers comic now, who's never, they say they haven't seen the movies, they dive in, there's a lot of different characters. There might be some adult situations, some violence, maybe some romantic stuff. Maybe they're not ready for that. Maybe the parents don't think they're ready for that. I know there's some comics, like the Wolverine ones, can get pretty gory. Old Man Logan there was blood and guts everywhere. Even the Batman stuff, there's burnt faces. So kids might not be ready for that. So what these companies did, they wanted to ensure that there's readers in the future and to promote reading in kids, came out with things like, for DC, they had Teen Titans Go. For, they also had those Supergirl things, it's all the female characters that is teens in like a superhero high school. My daughter loves it. And Marvel did a lot of things like Marvel Adventures or Marvel the Superhero Show, where they were all like squat little cartoony versions of themselves. And they've had Marvel Adventures comic books where they take all the characters just as they appear now, but they put them in sort of the standard good guy versus bad guy. There's none of the Civil War politics, love, and there's no adult situations. The good guys win, the bad guys lose, and kids love it. One, it ensures that, there's going to be people reading comic books. It gets kids into it. It gets them excited. And as they mature, then they can get into those standard stories that adults or the older crowd would read. And it's not just with comic books. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you've actually ever read the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic books, they were violent, they were bloody, and people died. Obviously, you can't get kids into it that way. No parents go, oh yeah, let's watch a TV show where these weird mutated ninja turtles kill people. No. So they made the cartoon, where the foot went from being actual ninjas to robots, and no one ever got hurt. Right? And the good guys always won, the bad guys lost. There was a bit of comedy in there. Good guys win, yay. Of course, as those kids get older, they can get into the original Ninja Turtle stuff. Final Fantasy, Squaresoft, Square Enix, when it was Squaresoft, did the same thing. Final Fantasy games were complicated back then. They still are. Less so, but there was a lot of reading, there was a lot to do. Younger kids just couldn't get into it. All right? You'd have an attention span. They came with a game called Final Fantasy Adventure. Again, it was very simple. The graphics were simple. The game was simple. It was great for kids to get into. So where am I going with this? Well, that trend continues with Games Workshop. If you notice, it's the age they stayed on. There's actually a website for it, which gives you sort of a rundown of what the story's about and all the characters. This is perfectly set up to get kids into it before they actually get into the nitty-gritty of the fluff, right? No parent's going to buy their kids a book knowingly. They might buy that, talks about people being eviscerated, decapitated, ripped apart, blown up with mass reactive bolt shells, having their souls stolen, being eaten by bugs, chopped in the head with battle axes, right? All that stuff. And some of those books get pretty graphic on how things are ripped apart. Talk about, being ripped apart, groin to head, gore, entrails, evisceration, the whole thing. It's a bit much for a younger kid. And it's hard for kids to relate to something like a Space Marine. I can't relate to Space Marines. I love Space Marines. I can't relate to one. They're 8-foot tall killing machines. I'm not an 8-foot tall killing machine. I wish I was. That'd be so cool. I'd love to have 2 hearts and 3 lungs and be able to spit acid and cool stuff like that. So that's what these books are for. They're 8 to 12. They're allowing these kids to get into these universes in a child-friendly way, which makes sense. And of course, the characters are going to be kids because kids can relate to that. I was actually looking up all the different characters. There's 3 per series so far right now. 3 main characters. The 40K one has the daughter of an Imperial explorer, the runaway son of an Imperial commander, and a kid from Mars. And each one has sort of their own little quirks to them, and the reasons why they do what they do, and they get caught in this situation. And of course, the Space Marines come in, and there's Necrons, which makes perfect sense. The Space Marines are the poster boys, whether you like it or not, with the Ultramarines. That's sort of the way it goes. They're the poster boys of 40K. And Necrons make the perfect enemy for these books because they're soulless machines. They get blown up. You're not killing a real person. You're blowing up a metal skeleton. It's much easier to do than, explaining, oh yeah, well those heretics over there got hit with mass reactive bolter cells and there's bits of them and there's blood and gore. No, it broke a machine, right? And of course, I said it's great for the kids to see kids in these roles. And of course, they're going to make it heroic. No one, for example, a friend of mine, Mythos, has been commenting how the Horus Heresy is pretty downing. Every book, more loyalists die, the bad guys win. No kid's going to want to read that. Get book after book of, oh, look, the bad guys won and the good guys are mush and they're dead and so much death and dying and oh my god. No one's going to want to read that. The kids will be like, well, I don't want to read this. This game is stupid. I don't want to play this game. All the bad guys win all the time. They're going to want stories with heroes saving the day. So that's all I have to say about that, guys. I just want to get those off my chest, give my opinion on them. I think they're fantastic. I'm going to pick up one for my son. I think it's going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun. But let me know what you guys think. Tell me, have I missed the point of these? Am I going too far? Tell me what you think. Am I off my rocker? I don't know. Just my opinion. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching. I'm going to get back to actually getting these guys done and painted up. And I'll do some cool stuff with those. And my other characters here, I haven't forgot about them. They're on my to-do list once real life gets out of the way. But as always, guys, thank you very much. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you already haven't to. Hit the little bell, ring-a-ding-ding. And that way you get the updates when they happen. And as always, guys, keep rolling those dice. We'll see you later. Bye.